Hey, welcome everyone to the Weber Farmers March Madness sale here on Top Livestock. We're streaming out to Facebook. Andy Roller here with Top Livestock. Um, we've got a great catalog review set up tonight for Weber Farms. Just want to remind you that the sale starts February the 28th at 6 p.m. on toplivestock.com. Again, that's the Weber Farms March Madness sale. It'll go into extended bidding on March the 1st at 6 p.m. And we look for quite a bit of activity there on extended bidding. A little bit of a few announcements before we get started into the catalog review. There is a substitute lot on lot 22, and we'll talk about that when we get there. And then also, Mr. Weber has made sure that all the straws have got the Bull Nanza. So all straws will be at Bull Nanza, and that's where they're stored at. Typical, if you've participated in an online sale before, typical after the sale ends, Ms. Page will send out an invoice to everyone for the winning bidders. Arrange a payment with her. We get everything cleared, and then we'll let Mr. Weber know that everything's good to release. So with that note, your catalog review panel tonight is Mr. Kendall Barnes from Chai View Kikos. We got Joseph Knetter with Whistling Dixie Kikos. Pat Lahr with Hoosier Hill Meat Goats. And I don't have a slide for Mr. Weber, but he is online and with us right there looking big and beautiful.
Yeah.
So here we go. We'll get kicked off. We'll go to lot 1. As soon as I get everything lined up on my end, we'll get going. And as a reminder, if you want to comment on the Facebook live stream feed, ask a question. I'll pop those up there on the screen for everybody, and ask those. So we'll be interactive in that part. So, all right, desktop. Here we go. Lot 1, CGI Ringo. These guys don't need a whole lot of introduction. 2 straws, stored at Bull Nanza. Great looking buck. Pango Hua son by Tasman Aristocrat daughter. Really great bottom side on that dam. Kendall, you want to talk about Ringo a little bit?
Yeah, I owned Ringo for a while before John got a hold of him. I had real good success with him on buck tests and raised some really good daughters out of him. Craig always said that Tasman Aristocrat was packing a lot of meat, so I believe Ringo was really good at passing along the meat side of things and then the hardiness of the Pango line. He's probably one of the better Pango bucks out there, Pango sons.
Joseph, with us? Joseph's having a little technical difficulty, I think, with the cell signal there. So, Pat, you want to talk a little bit about Ringo?
Well, I don't have a lot more to add other than what Kendall said, but you know that Ringo had a reputation for being one of the toughest bucks in the country. He survived Kendall's, John's, Craig's, John Smith's farms, and really fine performance animals and well made. Ringo, and I've got a couple Ringo daughters, and I really like them. Good, excellent parasite resistance, and well made. And
John, you want to add anything to Ringo?
Absolutely. I mean, I would like to add on the female side, his daughters that I have had are in the top 1% of my entire herd, and that's my entire herd from existence. They are They are phenomenal on their motherability, their teat structure, their udders, their feet. Every bit of that Ringo adds to whomever he's bred to. That's the one key thing to look at for any buck is, does he make the offspring better than him? And that's one thing Ringo does.
All right. Lot number 2 is Webb's Blue Dominator. 2 straws stored at Bonanza. Dominator is a son of Blue Sun. What was his name? I pulled a pedigree up here. Webb Ginger. That's what it was. Yeah, Webb Ginger. Blue Sun over Webb Ginger. I'm a big fan of Webb Ginger. I had a doe out of her, Webb Gabrielle. Really liked that. But also to note that Dominator won the 2016 Maryland Buck Test. So Blue Sun over a really good Shogun daughter, Webb Ginger. Kendall?
Yes, Kendall, go ahead.
My herd, I had Juke 2. That was my line I went with, and then Weber herd, his doe line, his favorite, I believe, was Ginger. He flushed her with many different bucks, and to me, when you look at a doe and she's been flushed with multiple different elite sires, that says a whole lot for the doe, and she's one of those herd building does. And Dominator, with Blue Sun on top, you can't really go wrong. He's already proven himself, and I know Pat's tested Prodigy I Love Him and done well, and Weber's tested Prodigy I Love Him and done well. So over 2 different farms, he's done well on buck test.
Pat?
Yeah, so I had the privilege to use Dominator for quite a while, and I've still got several of his daughters. They passed on the dam's udder. The Ginger had one of the best udders for an older doe that you'd ever want to see. A tight udder, really good teat structure. It seems like that passed on to Dominator's offspring. The does out of Dominator are tough. They've got great udders, good feet. I don't really have any issues as far as udders, site resistance. Dominator sired top 10 buck for me in West Virginia, I think, and his daughters have sired have had multiple eye test performers. And say about Dominator line bird, and Ginger's a big part of that. Of course, Blue Sun, what everybody, I don't know what else to say about Blue Sun because everybody knows how great his offspring has been. But Ginger was John's one of his flagship does, and so I think the Dominator semen would really help add to anybody's herd, I would think.
Absolutely. And I'll jump right in there with you, Pat. I might as well make the statement so everyone knows out there. Ginger was the best doe that ever stepped foot on my farm, bar none. There's a reason I did flush her with many elite sires. There's a reason I kept herd sires from her. Now, obviously, they had to perform, but Dominator got his name because we threw him out there at Western Maryland, and from day one to the end, he dominated the test. He jumped out in front of everybody, and he finished first. So actually, Susan Shonian had a lot to do with his name. That's what she called him. As far as all of the parasite resistance, if you take these top 2 bucks, the first 2 bucks that we're discussing, both of these animals, whether it's on the doe side or the sire side, have a tremendous impact on the performance testing genetics out there in the country. Them together. That's about all I had for him.
We moved a little fast on lot 1. Just a couple of producers. Oh yeah, there it is. Mansfield's. I know they bringing in for the Ringo, and then Wayne Sims from SNS said that he had a heck of a son from Ringo. So 2 other farms there ringing in on Mr. Ringo. Okay. Move on to lot 3. CLP Raging Rivers Pompeii. Again, 2 straws stored at Bonanza. Got a picture here of Pompeii, and then his pedigree. He's a Helsington over a Sesame daughter. Been chased after a lot. Kendall, did you see him? Know anything on Pompeii?
Yeah, I went to Lee Patrick's and actually picked up Pompeii for Weber. Boy, he's a handful. He is a very big buck, and he's very high strung. Because Lee's pretty hands off, but he had big bone and had the biggest neck I think I've ever seen on a buck, and was just a real long bodied animal. I've never had anything out of him, but Weber's sold a few daughters. I love him that's carried that feeling like very feminine look, long body. So kind of way to get back to some really old genetics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want just the pattern here in the circle, but I can tell you the daughters I have sold in the sales, people that have them are extremely proud of them. He has done very well for them. The daughters I have had have done very well. Unfortunately, I didn't use him enough in my New Zealand herd because I had so many bucks, and I was keeping him for my commercials until I realized just how good he was, and then I pulled him over to New Zealand herd. That's the only buck that I've ever put my hands on, actually, that I've ever seen that I can't handle. It took both my son and I. He's that strong. He's that muscular. He is that well built. I can't just grab him and throw him up against the fence like I can anything else. And that's not a small statement, Andy.
Yep, and the marks here they just rung in. We won on one of his daughters, and she's fantastic. So marks there.
I appreciate that.
Confirming that. Again, a picture of Pompeii. We know he's a handful, and it's Mr. Sting over a Sesame daughter. Again, like Kendall said, some of the older genetics that trying to get back in and put in your herd would be a good fit here. So, switch over to the next lot. That would be lot 4. Looking at 2 screens, so bear with me. Lot 4 is 2 straws of Webb Henry Hooker. Mr. Hooker is a Ringo son over Ginger, which we just talked about, and talking to John a little bit before on some items for the sale. He's lined this up for a lot of farms to be able to build upon the packages that he's offering, and I think he'll speak to that at some point in the thing. I really hope he does, because it meant a lot to me as a producer hearing that. And as you look at the pedigrees and see how it's stacked, I think you'll see that yourself. But again, it's a Ringo son over a Webb Ginger, Mr. Webb Henry Hooker, lot 4. Kendall?
Like I said before, he took that ginger and he using elite sires over. And here's one of those crosses. I don't know that you could beat the pedigree as far as stacked with elite herd sires and exceptional does. It's layered in there.
Pat? Anything?
Well, I would just add that you see that Webb Ginger was sired by CGI Shogun, and Shogun 1 year at, was it the 2013 Maryland test? He sired like, I don't know, umpteen 8 or of the top 15 bucks on test, and so Shogun was in its own right quite productive as far as performance. And so just being able to add that Shogun with Ginger to any of these crosses, I think helps overall performance, parasite resistance, and everything. So I don't think you could go wrong with trying to add Henry Hooker to your arsenal of semen. I wish I had some of those straws, John. I guess I'll get a chance.
That's right. That's right. You get a chance. You get a chance, Miss Pat. To add to that, there was actually a couple sales, and unfortunately, Mr. Knetter can't chime in on this, but I actually took some Ringo daughters and some Henry Hooker daughters to a sale, and I have to admit, I like the Henry Hooker daughters better than those Ringo daughters at that time. Now, that doesn't mean it'll be that way, but, once they mature out. But as a Ringo, I've always been very impressed with the Henry Hooker daughters. I did sell him at a young age, so I didn't have that many. But he did definitely add some rear end to him, and they had plenty of depth. They had Ginger's depth. Phenotypically, they're everything you wanted to see in the doe line.
Okay.
That's it.
All righty. Hey, I'm a little bit slow on the feed here, so we'll go back to Pompeii. The Mansfields, we're saying they had a super doe out of him, crossed over Webb Heidi that was working for them. So that was
Yes.
input back in on Pompeii there.
Well, and that's the thing is, kind of like you mentioned earlier, yes, this is a very diverse group that I have. You can pick the lines you want for how you want to improve on your performance. But this package together as a whole, I didn't just put in bucks that do well on performance. I put in bucks that I would personally balance back and forth to create a better animal. And every one of these bucks will balance well with others in here. And that's what I was trying to do whenever I put this list together.
Awesome. I just noticed something. We'll have a laugh here. Where I didn't know if John was going to make it or not. He's traveling, as he does all the time. I just looked under your video. It's got my name, so everybody know that's John Weber there, not Andy Roller. Just a clarification.
Well, I am much better looking than Andy Roller.
You are, for sure. So moving on, Lot 5.
Literally.
Lot 5 is two straws of Webb 8's Moon Java. Moon Java is a Lynn 8 son over MJI Luna, which is a Hammers Mountain 07 daughter by a Titans RC daughter. It's a pretty good pedigree. I'll throw it up here on the screen. Moon Java there, and then his pedigree. Lynn 8 over Hammers Mountain 7. Kendall?
I never seen Moon Java, but I used to own Lin 8, and I had Luna here for a while. Whenever John bought her, I kind of overwintered her for him. She was probably one of the, I don't know, thickest and deepest does I've seen. She was a very broad chested doe. And then Lynn 8, we owned him, and I tested several kids out of him, and I let in Maryland I let Jared use him, and he tested several offspring in Maryland out of him, and they all done pretty well on the parasite side of things, and grew decently on pasture, and sometimes you get a little color out of him. Of course, he didn't own this book, but uh, that doe was a very, very barrel shaped doe, I would say. Luna.
Pat?
Well, so I didn't. I saw Moon Java, but I owned a flush mate of his that was called Moonshine, and he had a similar look to him, really deep body. He actually, I think we sent him to Oklahoma, and he was reserve Lake County champion. Moonshine was, and so I had so many bucks that I sold him to Jim and Angie Luce, and they've used him. They used him quite a bit. They really liked his offspring, and every now and then you still see Moonshine kids come through auction um, from the Luce farm. So uh, I don't think you could go wrong with Moon Java, Lin 8, and Luna. That was a really good combination for us.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add that his frame and his bone structure, the amount of bone he had in his front end was significant. He was matching his mama, and he, like I said, his flushmate brother went to Jim and Angie Luce. And for those of you that do not know Jim Luce, he is probably the pickiest individual of bucks in the country.
Yeah,
Now, I know
that's
Pat,
true.
she knows this for a fact, and I know Kendall does too,
Yeah.
and Joe. But the if he doesn't like a buck, it doesn't stick around. I mean, literally, it's gone. Moonshine has been there for a few years, and they really like him. So that speaks enough just in itself. And
Yeah.
but I think if Corey was here, he's had some Moon Java daughters. They are nice and thick, and they do have the resistance that he needs. I sold him to Corey's neighbor down the road, basically, Jeff, and that's where he resides currently. That's it.
Cool. Take a minute here, I guess, to answer a few Facebook posts. Mr. Joseph Miles will know how we're fitting you in a half a screen. Well,
Good one.
you got fans.
Yeah.
That's, but yeah,
That's actually pretty good.
yeah. That's on me. We last minute with John's schedule. I wasn't able to get the frame fit correctly, so that's on me.
Oh, good.
Yep. So we'll move on to lot 6. Lot 6 is 2 straws of Webb Hammer Ginger 867. Hammer Son over Webb Ginger that we talked about just a little bit earlier. Put him up here on the screen. pedigree. Like I said, I would think that was a pretty well flush there. A lot of the offsprings out of it done really, really well. Goes back to Web Ginger and the Hammer.
Yes.
867 done really well. Didn't he do well in the test, Kendall? No, he had offspring that done really well the last year or two, wasn't it?
Is this the one you sold that
Mark.
and Mark?
That,
them
yeah,
bought?
that,
Yeah.
So
He
yeah,
sold it to
he produced.
sold it to BP. Did he sell it to BPI?
he sold it to
Mm.
Cream.
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 Okay, yep.
I think he brought like 4,000 or 5,000 something. But yeah, he produced a Oklahoma test winner or for Curtis. And, you know, Hammers was tested and Titan was tested. And we've already talked about Ginger House. Her offspring's done, and Titans probably won't. That Titan lines, it's it's tested probably more than any bloodline out there, and done well. So this is another one of those. Take your best doe and put an elite sire over them and build your herd type things. That Weber and I believe Pat was in on this flush with you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is probably Pat and I's favorite flush.
Yeah. Probably so.
Um,
Did you did have you had performance kids off of him before you sold him, correct?
I don't think so.
Or was it you were just doing it on farm?
that was Hoosier Hammer, but out of that flush,
Okay.
I had 4 bucks and two does, and
Mhm.
the 4 bucks were all kind of distinctly different, but nice. But 867, I'm going to say of the flush animals I got out of that flush, he was probably the most well balanced of the bunch, and it was a hard decision to uh, I guess you know that was the flush mate that I decided to, but I'm kind of sorry maybe I sold that buck, but overall that if you talk about Hammer and Shogun, that pedigree is just packed with performance, and to be able to produce that quality of an animal with those performance backgrounds, it's kind of unusual, I think.
just
Absolutely.
community ringing in. Joseph Miles says he's got a pretty nice 867 daughter, and then the Marks, who I think was the ones that partnered on maybe buying him. They were rung in here and were saying that his son was one of the largest off the West Virginia test for us, finished at 147 pounds. So I was recalling that they had pretty good results off of that buck in some tests.
Yes, they have done very well with him.
Well, and Joseph, he put on the Facebook post, guys. I know you're reading it along with me, but so for some people that are maybe just watching, he said if you want to comment anything in the post, he'll answer it. But this is why we wanted him there. Joseph is saying A67 produced 3 top 15 bucks in 3 different tests. So
Yes.
yeah, so
And that was the main reason why Joe was on this call. His knowledge of the performance end of everything, it's more of what he retains and what his memory is like no other. And I greatly appreciate him helping us out.
here's a big note too. Curtis Brazil, he produced the top buck in the 2022 Eastern Oklahoma State buck test. 867 did.
Okay.
So getting some help out there, which that's really good. All right, so that's Web Ginger. Web Hammers Ginger 867, lot 6. Moving on to lot 7.
And
To what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to move on to lot 7. Is that good? All right. Lot 7. Lot 7 is 2 straws of Webb Hoosier Hammer. Again, you can see what John's built on here. Hammer over Webb Ginger.
Flush mate to the last one.
Push them back to the last one.
He's
And I
a
think
flush mate to the last.
This is the one Pat kept.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is the one that I have. That's the one I still have. And one of the reasons why I kept him was as far as his bone structure and frame. He's probably the heaviest bone um, kid I ever saw when they were born, and he's just kind of maintained that heavy frame and thickness front to back. And he's produced multiple high performing bucks. He had the number 2 ADG, number 9 overall in West Virginia, and he had the fecal egg count champion or 2 fecal egg count champions. He's had the number 5 overall in West Virginia for, I think, for a buck that Kenneth Jesse sent. Um, and then he sired the fecal egg count champion in Mississippi last year and was the number 4 overall. So he's consistently produced thick, nice, heavy boned animals with really good parasite resistance for us. And I've got several of his daughters. They've got great udders. The Ginger, which is tight, good teacher, good mother, outstanding feet, um, and really good gain. So I don't think you could go wrong, especially if you're trying to put a little more frame or bone. It's like John said, he's putting these bucks out there to help you build a better animal for your herd for whatever you might need. And Hoosier Hammer would add parasite resistance, good and good feet, overall depth of body, I would say.
Absolutely. And, I would like to throw this out there. And I know I've said this to Andy and to others, but yes, with my travels, I'm tough to get a hold of. But most folks out there have my cell number. And you send me a text, I'm always going to answer it. It may not be that day, but I'll always answer it. And anybody that's wanting to know how these different bucks will merge into their herd and what they're going to provide, and or at least what I or Kendall and this panel feels it'll provide, I'll be more than happy to share any and all of that. But this panel is an exceptional panel, and we've all done a lot together, and we've all learned from each other. And I just wanted to add that in there.
Yep, and John did tell me that I was going to meant to say that in the first of the stream here, that he was going to welcome anything that you guys had to ask him. He'd answer it. Just text him with his travels. Joseph rang in on Hoosier Hammer. He said he saw several hammer bucks, and Hoosier Hammer was the biggest one I've seen. Massive frame on him. Like Pat said, the sons have done very well on tests consistently. The daughters I saw at Pat's were really thick front to back. They stood out pretty well. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Weber. I mean, Mr. Netter, sorry. Okay. Moving on to lot 8. Lot 8 is Webb Maker's Mark. Get him up here on the screen.
Kendall.
There we go. Yep, Kendall. Webb Maker's Mark.
He's probably one of the better Ringo sons out there, I think. I mean, he's done well for Pat. He's done well for Corey, where he's at now. He's had several tested bucks, overall number 1 bucks, fecal bucks. The does I've seen out of him have been big bodied does with good tight udders, and he's like I said, he's probably one of my favorite Ringo sons.
Yep.
Pat, anything?
Yeah, so Webmaker's Mark was probably, well, the picture that you see, that was taken on my farm. And I picked Maker's Mark out of a group of bucklings that John had. And one of them was Nemesis, which I think Kendall owned him for a while, and Maker's Mark. And as a young uh, buckling, when I got them to my farm, I usually pick them over, and I was like, oh well, there's something wrong with them here, their hips or whatever. But I looked at him, I was like, I can't find one thing wrong with that buck. And so, John, you did a good job there. And of course, Mariah, the bottom side of that, Mariah wanted once flagship, right? Joe, um, I have are exceptional. I still got several of them that are getting some age on them, so I'm trying to work to get a few more uh, using some semen, and and I'd have to agree with Kendall that that's Maker's Mark was probably my favorite Ringo son that I've seen so far, and I can't say enough about the daughters of Maker's Mark. Um, the, I've had daughters that produced top performing bucks. One of those was the dam of Hoosier Homebrew. Homebrew was a number 7 buck in West Virginia, and Homebrew just sired the number 5 buck in West Virginia from last year. So Maker's Mark's been a um, pretty big part of our program. I'd like to keep him in the program with using semen. So um, I don't know what else to say about him.
Yeah,
Should have
when
better.
you're looking at Maker's Mark, the offspring, the does that come out of Maker's Mark are a medium build, very fleshy, and very fleshy. They are just, they have premier udders. Everything about them is extremely well balanced. I think everyone on this panel has seen this, and I'm going to have to confer with Kendall and the others that to this date, he is one of the best Ringo sons out there. If he's not the absolute best, he's in the top 2. I don't know how you could differentiate between the top 2, anyways. Depends on what you're looking for.
Joseph Miles was saying that the Glass and Kiko's has some super nice does out of him. And I know Web Mariah from talking to you way back in the day. I think Pat was saying that. I think she may have broke up just a little bit, but she was one of your. I think she was quite a handful as a doe, but you built quite a bit around her, didn't you, John? Web Mariah.
Yes, I did.
Mariah.
As far as does on my farm overall, I've publicly said many times Ginger was my number 1 overall doe ever. Mariah was right there next to her, if not tied for first, right there in second place. They were the premium herd builders on my end, and anytime you're getting a chance to throw Ginger or Mariah in your herd, you're doing very well.
And Joseph rung in on him and was saying that he saw Makers. He saw Makers a few times. He's a very large frame buck, very powerful front end to him, and a lot of length to him. Daughters I saw were built similar. I know the daughters I have seen have had good bags and have been really parasite resistant. Makers sired the fecal winner at Oklahoma and has had sons do very well at West Virginia. Moving on to lot 9, AFK Durango.
This was a this is Ginger's littermate brother. Somehow old Craig snagged him from John and put his hurt prefix on him. But Aaron Schaefer found this buck, and he contacted me. He said, "You know, I found this Shogun buck. I didn't even realize what the box size. I just said, you know, I said, well, Shogun, he probably get a buck. I bought him, and I'm pretty sure that's where all this semen come from was where Aaron
Hmm.
Schaefer collected it. But yeah, I'm glad he caught him and found him and collected him because it's a whole lot easier to use
Absolutely.
semen than it is to try to get I mean, you can't get nothing out of Ginger unless John lets his embryos go, which probably might not gonna happen. But yeah, I believe this would be a good way. I mean, I snagged a few of these straws. Well, my wife snagged a few of these straws. So that's I think quite a bit of this buck. For you know, Craig had a little bit to do with him. John had him. It's kind of a
Hmm.
sentimental buck in my mind. So I wanted to get a little bit of it for my herd.
Well,
Pat.
I'm the same way, Kendall. I I couldn't resist using some Durango semen just because of his relationship with Ginger, and um, so I did had AI done on a couple of those last year, and ended up with a buck doe pair and a doeling this year, and so I can't wait to see how those uh, grow out. Aaron thinks a lot of Durango's daughters and sent me some pictures, and they look really nice. And so, um,
Hmm.
Shogun Sun over AFK Dumbo, I don't think you could go wrong with
Yep.
that.
Yeah, Shogun was never collected, so I believe there might be just 3 Shogun sons that's ever been collected.
Yes.
Not very many.
I mean, the Dumbo's Hammer over P77 was a Cisco daughter. That you don't see much Southwest Cisco anymore.
No, I mean Dumbo was one of my
P77
foundation does.
was,
Do what, Pat? Pat P77?
I said P77 was one of Craig Adams' favorite does, wasn't it, John?
Yes.
He had her for a while. I remember he bought her in Batesville, I believe, when it was an AKGA sale, and
Yep.
I believe he tried to flush her to Onyx, if I'm remembering right, and it didn't stick
Uh,
or it didn't work
no,
out. And then he bred her to Hammer, and then she had quads. And then somehow
yep.
John ended up with her. I think she died after she had the quads or something like
She
that.
had
And
the
you had
quad.
to
She
raise.
actually went in one of our fine Illinois snows, and there was a drift out in the pasture that she burrowed in, and it was about 3 feet, 3.5 foot tall, and she dug a hole out there, had her quads, and just stayed out there for a couple days uh, till Craig found everything, brought them inside.
She was old though
But
too.
that was a heck of a doe. That was out in the wide open. But I can tell you, I've never been so happy to actually see a buck found and seeming to be out there than to have Ginger's full brother. Um, that is probably in my mind one of the sleeper bucks in this entire sale, especially as much as we're going to talk about Ginger.
Yeah, and we have, throughout. And then Joseph rang in there where he's following along. He said there's only one other Shogun son that's been collected to his knowledge. With Shogun and Hammer, there's not much better combo for Maryland test credentials. Shogun has proven to throw a lot of very maternal and productive does. I'd imagine Durango would be the same.
Yeah, I believe there's 2 other. I think This buck, I think Showdown was collected, and then Cuero was collected.
Yeah, Vaquero.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's
Oh
the
yeah.
three I know of.
yeah.
That's the only three I know of.
Backing up to Maker's Mark, Sidney Glasson chimed in and that they had a top 15 buck out of him last year at the West Virginia test out of Maker's Mark.
Yeah, their daughters. Yeah, their daughters. They have out of Maker's Mark produced. I can't remember what book it was. It's either I think it was Redemption or Mojo one produced. They got some really nice daughters out of Maker's Mark.
So, lot 10. And Joseph said you're right, Kendall. Lot 10 is Gotex 1489. Two straws, is that correct, John? Two straws of 1489.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
That's 1489. That's a picture that Dr. Ann had sent me some time ago, so I was able to get that a picture of him. Got some length there. Original genetics there. Going back to Gotex. I'll let Kendall or anybody ring in there.
This is one of those first four imported books. And for some reason, this is one of the whenever Ron and Polite and Warren Barnes and I think Dave Spark all bought semen from Ann in the beginning when she first laid out. For some reason, they didn't grab 1489 up, and she kind of told me that he was probably one of the better ones. She really liked him, but I don't know why they didn't grab. I had a granddaughter of 1489. It was a purebred that was really nice, but that's about as far close as I've been to 1489 was granddaughter. It was like the very first goats I bought from Rubel Canasher were lightning daughters out of the 1489 doe.
Yeah, Joseph was saying that he sired a top buck at Oklahoma a few years back.
Oh yeah, I think that was Grant Ballinger and Jared Denison buck they had together. I think it's 1489. I don't know what they had.
That sounds right. You know, I seen 1489 stuff at Craig's, and I basically put it in my arsenal to use, as well as Pat. And I didn't mean to interrupt Pat.
No, it's good because I don't have much to add.
Okay. And basically, 14 and 22 were the favorites there. Everybody wants to key on 62, which I'm in agreement with, or 26. And as far as Dr. Ann, to my knowledge, everything she has told me is that 22 and 14 were her favorites. I know there's not a lot of 14 out there that people have used. I've seen it in purebreds, I've seen it in commercials. And now I think Craig had purebreds. There was 6 of them there. Very fleshy. Had nice tied udders. Had good feet. There again, it's all the key things that you look for. And I'm going to turn it over to Miss Pat.
Well, I really don't have. I talked with Dr. Ann about early bucks years ago, and I made notes on what they would add to your herd, and now I can't find my notes. Of course, I can't remember, so sorry about that. I'm still looking. I thought I had them.
She did tell me the same, John, in a conversation that it was, in her opinion, it was 2289 and 1489 that I had with her. And if I pull my email up here, I have an email too from her that what she said would 1489, 2289 would add to your herd. But I can't remember it, what she said. Just looking at Facebook here, just to make sure anything on the lots. People ringing in on some stuff. But Curtis Brazil, going back to Shogun, he was saying that Showdown, Gunslinger, Vaquero, and Durango were the four.
Oh, no, yeah, I forgot about Gunslinger. That was like
I did
one of
forget about
those
Gunslinger.
2013 bucks that John had on the Maryland test. I think it's the top seller that year.
He's one of them that made me split awards with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we want to move on to lot 11. Lot 11 is again some of the original guys. 2 straws of 6289, Kotex 6289. And Dr. Ann has been watching. She told me I had the wrong picture up there. I had a picture of 2689. So she's watching us, and I corrected that. Again, original genetics, Caprinex and Gotex, 6289. I do have a 6289 buck here. I'm really liking what his offspring is showing me. He's actually 6289 over a 2689 daughter. So give him quite a few more does this year. That's what knowledge I have of actual 6289 offspring.
Kendall?
Anybody? Kendall?
This, I believe Mariah goes back to this buck on the top side. Through Thunder.
Out of Thunder?
Yeah, I think 62 Thunders out of 6289. To me, he always looked like the beefier of the four, but 2289 I never get. I mean, this picture just looks beefier made than the other. I could be wrong, just from the picture. I've not had a whole lot of 6289 stuff, but pretty much all I have on that one.
Yeah. I don't have much experience with 6289 either. I did find my notes, and I hate to quote notes if Dr. Ann is watching, but one note that I had down was to use 6289 to help add muscle, and that kind of shows in his picture, like Kendall said. But
Yes, there's no doubt. I've been around some 62 stuff with myself and Craig, and 6289 will definitely add frame, length, and muscling, even bone, depending on what you're breeding it with. I like the 62 stuff. I think it's very well balanced. If you took all of the 89 stuff out there, that or 22 might be my choice. But then again, that's like picking between Ringo, Dominator, and a few others. They're all very, very good bucks. 62 does appear to add a little more muscling than a couple of the others.
I'll let Joseph help us out here a little bit. He said, I've seen several animals out of 6289. I'm sorry, I missed my place here. I've seen several animals out of 6289, yet they've seemed to carry the same phenotype that 6289 has. Lots of body of them and square built and correct. That's pretty much what you were saying, John. Square built and well balanced, I think. And I have to ring in on that buck I've got. It's out of 6289. He's square built, balanced. He's not the biggest buck in the pasture out there, but I'm really liking his offspring. So he's doing well.
Yep.
Next lot 12, is Gotex generator, 2 straws, stored at Bonanza. Kendall, you got a something out generator?
Well, yeah, he's one of those. If I can't get Hammer, I'll take generator type thing. He's he's I've got a daughter out of generator out there. He's produced test winner for me, or not test winner, but second place. And John and Pat have both used generator and flushes, and seems like if you need to add some frame and some growth, he's the one. He's one of them to throw in the mix. He's gonna get you length and height and some growth.
Absolutely.
Pat?
I've still
Got
got
a-
a generator. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, so I was just saying that I've got a generator, ginger daughter out here that just kitted with triplets and raising them like a champ. She always does a great job and no problems. Pretty much maintenance free. Big. Well, she's not a huge doe, but she's got a really deep body, great udder, and good feet. I've always heard and always seen that generator is supposed to really improve feet and legs if you needed that in your herd. So I've had good luck with that generator ginger um, line.
Yeah, Bill
Yes.
Sunnecreek was saying that on Facebook as well. He said, I'm super pleased with my generator ginger buck. Kids are hitting the ground and very nice and wide.
Yeah, Bill has a flush mate that he took out to his place, Bill Stony Creek. He has the 1903 buck. I had Miss Guinevere at my house, who was a very, very large doe, and she done phenomenal here, and I loved her offspring. Everything about those who are looking at the generator, they're not putting it in ginger. I'm just saying that was a well balanced cross. But regardless of what you put generator on, as long as it's a medium framed animal, he's gonna keep the square body, the depth, and the rear end on him. He's a good buck to have in the arsenal.
Yep. Joseph rung in. He said, generator is in the pedigree of too many top tested bucks to count. Definitely added AGGs to his offspring. The daughters I've seen have had a lot of frame to them and been really productive top. And I have to ring in here with generator I have. I got a generator daughter and had a generator buck, and I definitely, what's been said here is true. You get frame. The daughter I have is really productive. She produces really great babies out of the generator. Lot 13. Lot 13 is 2 straws of TMK Boss's Sport stored at Bonanza.
Imprint son over Hanky Panky's Y266. I've got a granddaughter of Boss of Sport that's doing really well. I believe if you need add some height and not lose thickness as much, I believe this buck will help you. My doe's she's got some leg under. Most people know I like them short, but seems like she could well shouldn't. So, and she's not a lot of tall goat. They're not as thick as I like, but she seems to be staying thick and got the leg, so that's interesting. And then I've not had a whole lot of Boss of Sport, but I believe I believe Benson owned this buck. Bought him at the Cream maybe a few years ago. Not much imprint seeming out there, I don't believe, left. So Suns is going to be where it's at.
Pat, you want to ring in? Pass.
I don't have much experience with this cross, but I know that if Christian and Ron put that cross together, they must have thought a lot of that doe and the buck. So
I can
probably a
ring.
good one to add to
Yeah,
your
I mean,
arsenal.
Yeah. John, I'll ring in here
I had
before you go if you don't
buck
care. Do you care if I ring in?
with yeah, go right ahead.
I've got Boston Sports' sister, Callie, so I've got experience with this cross. She's really productive, great udder. So things out of her, she generally throws me $2 in a doe year after year after year. I've kept her does. I really like that. So it's an identical cross in a doe here. Good performer.
Yeah, I mean, I bought this buck to balance back into my herd as an outcross because you obviously everyone knows you can't keep producing the same exact animals all the time, and most folks know the three bloodlines that I try to toss around. Um, this animal was brought in as an outcross, so if you look at this list as a whole, he is one of the outcross bucks I intended on using. I personally haven't had a great deal of experience with him, but I know some people have done well, and I like the phenotypes of him, so that's why he's there.
Got some Facebook people chiming in on Boston Sport. Bill Stony Creek. I've had a daughter at Boston Sports, and she's tough as nails. I still have Boston Sports granddaughters I like much. I flushed, cut off there. What did it say? Oh, here it is. Oh, that the granddaughter he flushed last fall. I'm sorry, I had to catch up there. And then Joseph Miles, if you want, he's said that he had a doe out of Boston Sports' sister. She kidded the first time this year. Done awesome, raising nice. And then Joseph Canetter. I think Sport was the top selling buck cream of the crop, imprinted the same cross as Keeper, and that's pretty hard to get a hold of. The daughters,
Yeah.
and that's as far as it went. So, looks like a good opportunity here for an outcross along. I think that you just said it. That was your thought here was an outcross to go back along with what you're offering.
Oh,
Correct?
absolutely. It was my outcross to come back into my herd, and phenotypically you can't beat them. I've had a lot of keeper blood throughout the years, and I wanted to use this buck.
Lot 14. 2 straws of CVK Keepers E117.
Mm-hmm.
Kendall.
This buck out of a flush that Ron and Christian did get with June, the original June. We got four kids out of it, $3 in a doe. I believe this. I mean, everybody knows what June was for us, and I think this is another one of those bucks that Weber brought in to use as an outcross in his herd. Um, I believe you'll get. I'm a little biased, but I believe you'll get excellent udders and growth and bone and muscling out of this sire.
Absolutely. Do you have anything, Pat?
Just didn't this buck and his flush mates sires some pretty high performing bucks on test too uh, for for Christian or for you, Kendall. I mean, you can't go wrong
Uh,
with,
I think
but
Christian had some. I can't remember if he had a buck. Probably had a buck, and he had daughters that's gonna produce sons.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, there again, Kendall was spot on. I wanted to bring keeper blood into my herd to balance in some conformation as an outcross. I had, I knew I basically keyed on parasite resistance, motherability, and feet and everything for so many years. Obviously, balance in the confirmation, but these two last keeper bucks were what I brought in as my outs. Back to what I was saying earlier, this entire list is a well balanced machine for basically an entire breeding program.
Okay, lot 15. Lot 15 is 2 straws of Sig X Rizzo, stored at Bull Nanza. Rizzo is out of Gen V22, which is a BBM Dale 1400 son, and out of a TNT Cody daughter Gen V4C.
Wow.
Kendall.
I ain't had much out of Rizzo or anything out of Rizzo. I do have semen on Viking, which is a flush mate to that V22. If I'm not wrong, I think V22 is the one that um, PJ Murphy had. He called him
Mm-hmm.
Premier Dale, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I believe this Dale over the JFK doe and the TNT Cody over the other JFK doe. I believe those are flushes that Craig Adams done, and then something happened. And he had to sell the recips, and I want to say that's Donnie Waller is a gin guy. I, I can't remember, but I believe that flush, those two flushes were the brainstorm of Craig Adams, and then he got where he had got the situation, had to sell his recips. So kind of interesting.
Yep. Pat, did you have anything of Rizzo on your place?
no, no, I haven't really
Okay.
had experience with that.
So I went ahead and got this semen, and I was actually going to go after some more. I had a couple Rizzo daughters at the house, and I absolutely loved them. They were producing kids in the top 10 in my herd, and I was very impressed by them. Not just phenotypically, but parasite resistance. I mean, for those of you that know me, if a doe's on my place for more than 3 years, it's got some parasite resistance. That's all there is to it. I'd even go as far as to say 18 months, but for 3 years, you're doing pretty good. And I think everyone on this panel has seen the Rizzo daughters at my house, and I've really liked them, and they've done well in the industry.
Okay. Ring in here from the Facebook feed. Bill Stony Creek. He saw Rizzo at Brandon Grimshaw's in Texas before he sold to Addie Short. Nice, well-balanced buck. I have a daughter of Rizzo that's 11 years old. Gave twins this year and still has nice udders. And then Joseph rang in. Rizzo's one of the. Send this. I'm sorry. He says Rizzo is one of my favorites in the sale. I've got some straw stored to use. I think he makes excellent females, productive and milky does that have good thick top and good flesh on them. A Rizzo daughter was the dam of the number 6 fecal in Oklahoma.
That I didn't know.
And then Joseph Allen also saw him at Addie's, and said he really liked the buck. Lot 16. Get queued up here. Lot 16 is 2 straws of BWP Speckles Ace stored at Bonanza. Mr. Speckles' son over BWP Ace 40 girl.
There's not much ace genetics out there. I think Wes lost ace pretty early on, and so there's very few daughters out of him or sons out of him. Was Ace the one that they tested in Maryland, or was it Sons of Ace they tested in Maryland?
Sons.
Never would know. Sons. Didn't Ace
This goes
produce
back
like
to
the? Didn't he produce one of those bucks that Luce put on the carcass evaluation that like topped the carcass
they were
evaluation?
elusive to put there. Yes, they were top out there in the carcass eval.
That's what I thought.
I mean, it.
But I
In
mean, you
all
look at the buck,
honesty,
he's packing the meat, flesh.
you know, I made this comment earlier about how picky Jim Luce is about bucks, and I I love the man. He does a phenomenal job. I can tell you that every single buck he has ever purchased or looked at or seen gets compared to Speckles Ace. Period.
Yeah.
That is his number one favorite buck that he likes to compare everything to. And I think Pat would probably agree with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We saw a lot of Ace daughters that they brought to BPI, and
Yeah.
nice fleshy animals, and those Speckles Ace daughters always stood out. He produced some pretty good test performers, not only on carcass but gain, and bad on parasites either. But yeah, Jim really liked that buck.
This was one of the animals that, I mean, these 2 straws I was actually going to use in a flush program, and was basically going to be a herd builder for my son. That's the whole reason why I got him. And there should be a lot of attention put forth to Speckles Ace, because he can add a tremendous amount to the Kiko breed. That's a heck of a buck.
Yeah, that's
Picture.
meat wagon. Queuing up lot 17. 17 is 2 straws of GHK high voltage. Going back to generator straws that are also offered in there. His offspring generator.
Mm-hmm.
Kendall.
I've got to see Whiteland's Lady R06 actually had a son of hers. She's a pretty solid built doe. Generator over, I mean, putting generator over, you're just concentrating that, it's line breeding generator. So, look at the color, it looks like. There's several, I know J.D. Gibson's got an exceptional daughter out of high voltage. I have a daughter out here that's actually owned by Mackey that's out of high voltage. Is pretty good. And I don't know if Pat's had any high voltage daughters, but seems like Seems like a pretty good buck to bring in if you can't get the generator semen.
Yeah, I've never had any high voltage daughters, but I've heard. Doesn't Jared have a high voltage? Did he have a high voltage son or? Um, anyway, I don't have much to add on that other than
Is that
I
what?
don't think you go wrong.
Can't remember what that buck
Yeah, I
was
mean,
he had.
high voltage stuff out there is very fleshy, and it it's had it's had resistance in the past. Jared and Brent have done very well with high voltage, um, and but there again, it's very fleshy, and that I don't think people are hitting enough on the bottom side of this cross. That was a phenomenal doe that's in this cross.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was Rubles. Rubles said that cross, that Lightning over Moneybags. Moneybags may not have produced this tested bucks like Titan and Hammer, but that Moneybags always produced consistently stuff that was in his top 10, 5 or 10 every year. Kids on his own farm stuff. He actually
That's right.
took DNA samples to clone Lightning and Moneybags to bring it, to build a herd.
Yeah. And Kendall, certain stories like that out there, it's good for some of these people to hear. They don't. I know we're trying to key on what they're going to add to a herd and stuff like that, but a few little tidbits here and there is good for people to know, because some of these people listening probably don't even know who Ruble is.
Yeah.
Sure.
He was a character.
Yeah, we're going to leave it at that. Cut the mic and go to the next lot.
While we're getting ready for the next slide, I want to step back to the previous lot. Speckles Ace. Joseph had rung in here on. A bunch come in at one time. I'm sorry. Oh well. Take that off the screen. I messed that one up. Sorry, guys. Joseph Canetter had rung in on Speckles Ace. Pretty much. Here it is. I'm sorry. I had the wrong one. There was a bunch flew in. One of the best bucks he's seen. We need to go to the next slide. There's everybody's commenting, and I'm trying to keep up with it. I'm sorry, everybody, but Canetter had. If you go back and look, Canetter had a really good comment in there about Speckles Ace, about him being tested quite a bit, and Jim and Angie had tested him quite a bit and how well he had done. So.
Oh, absolutely.
To lot 18. Lot 18 is Sig X Augusta. MJI Frankie's son over Sig Gypsy, which is Ray Austin boy.
Got a whole lot of not really line bred genetics in this one, but like just layered in excellent genetics. That I got to see that Austin's boy at the at an AKGA sale years ago. I don't even know if he was a year old then. Very well built buck, even at a young age. I believe he was at the end of his life. He was at PJ's. I'm thinking right. That Frankie, I seen a few things out of him that looked pretty good over the years, and goes back to fighting over some AVG genetics, which is the same farm Jim came from. That buck Augustus looks to me like a deep-bodied, fleshy buck, and I believe Dennis Higgins owned him at the end of his life. If I'm not, or used him or something at the end of his life.
I think so.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Kendall.
His part. Just start over, and then we'll see if you repeat what I just said.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually had the pleasure of seeing Frankie at Gene's. Very well balanced buck. Augustus, obviously you can't go wrong on the bottom side. From what I understand, I have not seen the Gen V4, but Augustus himself, there's not much tested out there. There's some, but there again, I bought him, and he's in this because of his phenotype and what he can add to a lot of these bucks that are already mentioned. But as far as what you said, Kendall, I couldn't hear any of that. The well balanced buck.
Pretty much what I said.
Great minds think alike.
I just looked a little better saying it. So.
There's several people trying to get on Facebook on this buck. A lot of people out there. Joseph did. Joseph Knetter says, I guess is another buck that holds a lot of my interest. I saw Gypsy produce for a while in her old age. She was really well balanced, a tough doe. AVG Bonnie was some of the best maternals and that Gene had. Augustus had some tests well, had some bucks sons test well in Oklahoma. I saw Augusta and liked him a lot. Well balanced and carried good flesh to him. Yeah, several people have rung in on stuff out of Augusta.
Yeah, I'm actually saddened to not be able to cross that with my Dominator and Ringo stuff. That's where it was headed.
You could always send it to me, and I would have done it for you.
Well,
Me too.
Kendall, we're going to
Yeah, we could do it right back.
Yeah, we
industry.
could do
We could fulfill your breeder dreams, Weber. If you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
thank to me and Pat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Help you out.
Yeah.
Anything we can do.
Well, that's not a problem. Hey, you both have the opportunity to purchase the semen this Friday. And,
Oh yeah.
and you let me know how it works out.
Okay.
I will personally help you decide how to use it. No fee.
No fee consultant.
Wow.
So, lot 19. Are we ready for two straws of DSL Meter Man?
You bet you.
That is lot 19. There's
The old
picture
moose grandson.
Yep.
Double red moose on the top. Blue Sun Heritage on the bottom. Packing hell in that buck build that he's got all that in the bred in his pedigree. Thick
Yep.
made and fleshy and wide. Kind of got a theme going here with these bucks Weber's bringing into outcrops. thick and wide.
Yeah.
Was it this? What? Uh, Troy Lomax? He
Uh-oh, you're cutting out, Pat.
Yeah, you did for just a second.
I just made the comment that wasn't. Did Troy Loman have Meter Man for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to say that.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just teasing you. It ain't to mess with you, Miss Pat.
That's good.
Um,
It's all good.
it is 100% fact. I've actually used Meter Man on the farm. I've been I've been very happy with the phenotypes that have come out of it. Parasite resistance, it's all there. It's they are very, very fleshy animals.
Okay. Move on to lot 20. 2 straws of DSK Yukon F392. Rooster Cogburn over Rooster Cogburn.
Kendall's going to help the most on this.
DSK is oh, what's Shane Hesterman's farm down deep south
Deep South
Mississippi, I
Kikos.
think. But
Yep.
he likes them. He's real picky on selling anything registered, and he very seldom lets very many bucks out. Um, for them to be let out, they offer to the public be passed through him, and his they got to be very parasite resistant to even survive where he's at. So for him to let it be open up to the public, to let this out, I mean, he had to be excellent. I've got a daughter of Yukon out here. It's been pretty good for us. I sold offspring out of her to cream last year. Um, I I think it's a good book. I got an echo back there. Somebody's listening to the
Dana.
thing and it's going in my ear.
Tell Mama to pipe
No,
down.
nothing like listen to your hick self talking in your background. It drives you crazy.
Messes with you.
Yeah.
No, and I think Kendall hit on that. I was going after the Deep South, Kiko's pedigree there, and there again, I was throwing it in as an outcross to the bucks that I had represented above in this list, and I personally have not had the Yukon stuff on my premise. I know that Kendall has, and several others. But this is one of the bucks that I chose to enter in my breeding program and as an outcross.
Lot 21. Gotex 2289. This is, if I got it right, John, 3 straws? If I got the description right?
No, I think there's just 2 of that one.
Okay. Make a correction there. This is 2 straws of Gotex 2289. Glad I read that and caught it. Page would have
I
been
think
last.
It's another
it's
one of
the
those import books.
The very last lot has 3.
Okay, that's maybe what I did. Okay, Gotex 2289. We talked a little bit earlier about 2289 and 1489 being one of the favorites of Dr. Ann.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to speak out of term here. I got this semen from Dr. Ann as a group, and I really wanted to use this and have not had an opportunity. Whenever you have, I mean, at one time I was sitting with 13 mature herd sires in my lot, and some people obviously think that's a lot, but when you were breeding the way I was, yeah, I had too many bucks and wasn't using semen. But this is Dr. Ann's favorite. Miss Pat?
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you on that one because I bought semen from Dr. Ann and back years ago, and this was one of the original bucks that I bought. And I bought 2289 later at that time, and that he really liked those. So
Yeah, and the does I have seen out of 22 have been extremely balanced. There again, they're fleshy. I'm assuming they have the parasite resistance with them. They never actually ran on my farm, but they added a lot to that herd.
Okay. Backing up to Yukon, the previous lot, Joseph Canetter rang in on him that he was line bred Golden Boy. That Shane Hesherman was known to be tough on his goats and that they were great for parasite resistance. Shane's very picky in registering anything, and that he's very proud of Yukon. If you want resistance, maternals, and flesh, he's the buck you can use. That's what Joseph was saying. Move on to lot 22. Web Riptide. 2 straws? No, 3 straws. This is the one that has 3 straws. Is that right, John? Riptide? No, it shows 2 online. Am I right online? 2 straws of Web Riptide?
He's gone.
He's gone.
Old Riptide.
Mr. Riptide.
It's a ginger sun too.
It is?
I believe he was tested in Maryland in 2015. Come up second.
yeah,
And next year he come along. So, and that was ginger too. Oh, and that was Blue Sun that won it. So, kind of you don't see much white knight out there. Get some Tasman Aristocrat up close, Nick up close. I've had a few Riptide daughters, and they've done really well here. I still have one Riptide daughter left, and they cross really well with Chinook, and they've been excellent mothers. Milk really well, and have their udder dry. It dries up tight afterwards. Strong feet, good bone. I want to say John sold that white knight buck to a guy running a commercial herd when he had his horde of herd sires and had too many.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
think didn't they Dave Peters. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
I think Dave Peters bought Web Riptide, didn't he? And uh,
Yes.
I've got a Riptide daughter out of a browser daughter, I think. Anyway, she's a really nice, uh, thick head bone, really good maternals. Last year, she raised probably the nicest buck doe pair I've had for a while on my place, and she's getting ready to kid out here any day now. I know I can count on her. Have some kids again, hopefully.
Riptide is one of my favorite bucks. I actually didn't want to sell him. And in 2015 in Western Maryland, he was leading that entire test from day one all the way up until the last weigh-in. And Susan told me she had figured out the ratio of what he lost by. I lost to Sam, but he ended up placing second overall. It was like 0.01% is what he lost by at the very end. But this guy's the real deal. There again, he's out of Ginger. The very next year is when Ginger produced the number one overall at Western Maryland in Dominator. So Ginger produced back-to-back years of the last two tests at Western Maryland, the number one and the number two overall buck. And that's impressive. I don't know how else to say it. It's very impressive, especially for those two tests. And the Riptide stuff I have had has been phenomenal for me.
Yeah.
Joseph Canetter rung in on Facebook. He was saying the same thing. John Riptide was number 2 buck in Maryland. His son tested well for Dave Peters. He had a number 6 buck on Oklahoma. His daughters have seemed very well balanced and fleshy. His sire is the triplet brother of number 61, a Foundation doe of West. He bred her to Keeper and Super Sport, to name a couple. If you breed a doe to them, they have to be plenty good. Was what he was saying. West, if West bred one of those Foundation does, that buck would have to be pretty good for him to do that.
Yep. Thank you, Joe.
So that is a sublot on lot 22, and it is noted on line 2 straws of Web Riptide. Lot 23 is 2 straws of TNT Racing Cane. Loverboy Son.
If you want to get some Loverboy genetics without having to buy a Loverboy semen, this is probably the way to do it. I believe that JTVL 2 was, I think Troy went down to the valleys in Texas and he bought L2 and L3, and can't remember if there was another one or not. Bought them all at the same time and did some embryo transfers and flushes and all that stuff while I've covered with Loverboy over them.
That is exactly correct.
I'll ring in here for Joe. He said, I've seen 15 plus does that go back to Raising Cane through the Hogan herd. I haven't seen better maternals. They have very consistent phenotype and a lot of body and flesh. Wes showed me a picture of Cane with Speckles and Turbo. Speckles dominated growth for several years, and Cane made him look small. There's a ton of frame and growth there.
Yeah, I can agree with the statement. Miss Pat?
I would just repeat again. That's a good way to get Loverboy genetics right up close without having to pay for Loverboy semen. And anybody that wants to
Yeah.
try to put that in your herd, this is a good opportunity.
And I would agree with both mentioned. I will say that the phenotypes by the cane stuff, um, it's fairly rubber stamped, and it throws the same. You can walk out into a field and pretty well pick out anything that's Loverboy, which is a good thing.
Okay. Lot 24. Lot 24 is 2 straws of GFI Wild Bill. Terminator 2 Son by Moose Daughter. Go Kendall.
You get you some parasite resistance on the top side with the growth and frame and meat on the bottom side. Wild Bill's picked up a lot of momentum here lately, and rightly so. Looks like a very balanced buck. I know Pat's has a Wild Bill son, and he's done well with it.
Yeah, my Wild Bill son sired the and has just produced some outstanding females and bucks, but he's Wild Bill over a Special's daughter that I got off of West Pineo, and one of the nicest Wild Bill sons I've seen out there. But that's a really impressive picture. I don't think I've seen that picture of Wild Bill before, but that looks a really good picture. A nice buck. Good opportunity for somebody here.
Absolutely. I've had a couple Wild Bill daughters. Well, Wild Bill granddaughters. Actually got the Wild Billy daughters from Pat. Extremely fleshy animals, nice wide front end, extreme stature to them. They were just extremely standout animals, and you can't hit enough. Like Kendall said, you're balancing the parasite resistance on the top with the extreme growth and phenotypes that you have on the bottom. Moose and Terminator, they're top tier. That's all that can really be said. This will improve anyone's herd.
Yeah. Yeah, my Wild Bill son actually sired the one of the winners of the Mississippi Buck Test last year, and he was the number 4 fecal and top ribeye buck, and he's a good-looking buck. It's going to produce some nice kids.
Ready for lot 25? Lot 25 is 2 straws of BWP Super Sports 400 Boy. .304 Super Sports Son over Boulders Hill 77.
Big old square made buck. You got the size on the bottom with that S77. That Boulder Hills S77 buck must have been a really nice one because Hogan's used him a while, and I believe Donald Webb used him, and They kept a lot of stuff back out of him. And Super Sport's one of those bucks that, he's half brother to Sports Cat. They both seem to be packing the meaty phenotype. Um, this this buck here is pretty solid looking to me, and got that chest, forward, neck, and depth of body and length. A lot of ketones missing there.
You got anything, Pat?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
No.
I can say that Kendall did hit on that very well with the S77, but I'd like to even go back a little further to the Essex James Bond, and I know Pat can chime in on that, but she's had Bond's sons on her farm in Night Rider, and you were going to get very good size out of the down Charlemagne, the Bond. This animal is going to produce you some size and some growth. There again, it's a very good buck to balance in with all of your extreme parasite resistant animals, and especially if they're slightly on the smaller to medium build. This is going to add the size and the growth. And this was one of the balancing bucks that I had in my program.
That James Bond is kind of hard. East Texas James Bond is hard to find sometimes too nowadays in pedigrees.
Yes.
So that was the last lot.
I was just starting up a little bit.
Exactly. I just like to say a few things, John. Really appreciate you allowing Top Livestock to be part of this sale. For those that are watching, John has put together phenomenal packaging, and you get just a brief blink of what he's done for years in putting together a program. The Facebook comments alone, John, like 59 of them. I couldn't get them all posted. So many people talking about offsprings of your stuff and offsprings of things you were going to outcross into your program. I think you got a really great sale lined up. I think March of Madness is a great name for it too. I think it's going to be a really brutal kind of mad sale with the things you have offered. And I put the theme on there for the luck of Irish because here I think you're really going to be lucky if you get one of these lots that John's offering. So I really appreciate it, John.
I think all of the winning bidders are going to be extremely happy with the potential they're going to have there to improve their herd. I don't know if there's any person on the face of the earth that could go through the lots that are offered here and actually give us a list of top 10 animals that were produced out of either out of either sons or daughters of these animals. There's a tremendous amount of performance stacked in this group.
That's for sure. Yep.
And want to thank Joe Netter. He's followed along and put a lot of comments out there and rung on in a lot of the lots with details of performance test data, bucks that where they ranked. That'll be out there on Facebook for you to go back and look at as well. As long as this video will be on Facebook, I've recorded it and I'll put it up on YouTube as well because I just got a notice. Starting May 24th, Facebook's going to start taking down any live stream that after 30 days after it went up. So we'll put it over on YouTube as well. So, yeah, a lot of people watching. A great sale, great opportunity here. Again, it starts this Friday, February 28th at 6 p.m. You can pre-bid now. You can set your max bids now if you've got stuff you're going to be doing. It goes into extended bidding at 6 p.m. on March the 1st, that's Saturday. So, great opportunity here. Anybody else got anything else they want to say? If not, I'll play us out. John?
I probably would like to add, anyone can call and, or send me a text basically and ask any questions they want up till Friday night. Come Saturday, I will be MIA. It happens to be Mardi Gras and my son's 21st birthday.
Uh-oh.
So I probably will not respond to any last minute questions.
We won't be able to respond to you.
Call Kendall.
No. I'll put it on buy one, get one free shirt.
So this is, I think Curtis Brazil said what he's going to be. Right here it is. Go, show pony, go. So, show pony will be at Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Curtis just had to throw that in there, did he?
He wasn't the only one. I've seen it 2 or 3 times.
Oh,
That's what you should name the sale.
glad you're not
Show
reading.
pony.
Yeah. Show pony.
I still like the how'd you fit me on this half screen.
Yeah, that is my bad. This was we had a lot of moving targets here. My apologies on some of the shots, but you still look great, even half screen.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
All right, everybody. I'm gonna play a little music and stop all the streams and record. And thanks again. You guys did great.
Absolutely.